It's not just the offensive side of the ball that's expected to be bolstered for USC this weekend. Cameron Smith has missed most of the past 3 games because of a variety of injuries, including a hamstring issue as well as a minor knee procedure in the week leading up to last Saturday's Arizona State loss, as Oregon State, fresh off a huge come-from-behind upset of Colorado, looms this weekend. All signs are pointing to the middle linebacker returning to the field Saturday night. That development is obviously pleasing to the head coach. He's the quarterback, Clay Helton said of the defensive leader, and any time that you have that quarterback of that defense leave you a couple weeks, it's different. But obviously, it's a security blanket when you have a guy that has that many reps over 4 years, despite missing nearly 3 full games. Smith, who has started 41 games the last 3+ seasons and is one of USC's 4 captains in 2018, is still third on the Trojans in tackles with 47. He's also tied for second in tackles for loss with 5. Smith has led the Trojans in tackles each of the past 2 seasons. Earlier this week, Helton confirmed that JT Daniels has cleared concussion protocol and is expected to play this weekend. The true freshman starting quarterback missed the ASU loss because of a head injury. Earlier today, that was a report of an attack against a Maryland football player by a teammate, and now that teammate has gone public. Matthew Barber, a junior backup punter from Mechanicsburg, PA, told the Baltimore Sun that, after practice on Tuesday, a teammate attacked Barber and attempted to punch him in the face. While the two were fighting, other Terps intervened to help the attacker. Barber said he was repeatedly punched in the face and left the altercation with a black eye, multiple stitches across his forehead and a dislocated shoulder. "My jersey was bloody," Barber told the paper. "I had blood all over my hands." Barber said he was targeted because of his whistleblower status against DJ Durkin. Durkin observed Maryland's practice on Tuesday, which allowed the former coach's supporters to feel emboldened. Barber said he was mocked, insulted and had footballs thrown at him during the practice. "We take any matters involving physical altercations extremely seriously," Maryland AD Damon Evans told the paper. "We are talking with the players involved and will take appropriate actions based on the facts." This feels like the appropriate time to reiterate that Maryland initially brought Durkin back because its internal report found that, while there were many dysfunctional issues that all involved accepted, the program's culture did not meet the arbitrary standard of toxic that ESPN originally described. Leaving your teammate bloody and with a dislocated shoulder because he spoke out about the negative culture inside the program seems like the textbook definition of toxic. An Alabama Crimson Tide squad that has looked unstoppable is the biggest favorite going into LSU Tiger Stadium in almost 20 seasons. Alabama, led by Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, is a 14.5-point road favorites on the college football odds for this week against the LSU Tigers with a 54-point total at sportsbooks monitored by OddsShark.com. According to the OddsShark college football database, it is the first time since 1999 that LSU has been more than a 14-point underdog in the familiar confines of Death Valley, but the Tigers are 10-1 against the spread in their last 11 conference games. Over the last decade, Alabama is 11-1 straight up and 7-5 against the spread, ATS, as a road favorite of 10.0 to 18.0 points. The total has gone over in 5 of LSU's last 6 games at home against teams with winning records. Elsewhere in Week 10, all-time ET, Temple 5-3, at UCF 7-0, Thursday, 7:30 p.m. The Central Florida Knights are 10.5-point favorites against the Temple Owls with a 61-point total in a Thursday matchup. Temple is 6-0 ATS in its last 6 games. UCF is 9-3 straight up, Sioux, and ATS in its last 12 games on Thursday. Georgia, 7-1, at Kentucky, 7-1, Saturday, 3:30 p.m. The Georgia Bulldogs are 9-point favorites against the Kentucky Wildcats with a 44-point total. Georgia is 8-2 Sioux and 7-3 ATS in its last 10 road games. Kentucky is 2-8 ATS in its last 10 home games. Penn State, 6-2, at Michigan, 7-1, Saturday, 3:45 p.m. The Michigan Wolverines are 10.5-point favorites against the Penn State Nittany Lions with a 52.5-point total. Penn State is 16-6 ATS in its last 22 conference games. Michigan is coming off of an emphatic win against Michigan State, but it is 3-11 ATS in its last 14 games after an ATS win. Missouri, 4-4, at Florida, 6-2, Saturday, 4:00 p.m. The Florida Gators are 6-point favorites against the Missouri Tigers with a 58-point total. Florida is 3-14 ATS in its last 17 home games in November. Missouri is 0-4 ATS in its last 4 road games. The total has gone under in 11 of Florida's last 13 games in November. Louisville, 2-6, at Clemson, 8-0, Saturday, 12 p.m. The Clemson Tigers are 39-point favorites against the Louisville Cardinals with a 61-point total. Louisville is 1-8 ATS in its last 9 games. The total has gone under in 6 of Clemson's last 8 home games against teams with losing records. Clemson is 6-1 ATS in its last 7 conference games. Nebraska, 2-6, at Ohio State, 7-1, Saturday, 12 p.m. The Ohio State Buckeyes are 17.5-point favorites against the Nebraska Cornhuskers with a 72.5-point total. Nebraska is 6-2 ATS in its last 8 road games. The total has gone over in 5 of Ohio State's last 7 home games against teams with losing records. West Virginia, 6-1, at Texas, 6-2, Saturday, 3:30 p.m. The Texas Longhorns are 2-point favorites against the West Virginia Mountaineers with a 58-point total. The total has gone under in 6 of West Virginia's last 8 road games against teams with winning records. The total has gone under in 17 of Texas's last 21 conference games. Texas is 7-2 ATS in its last 9 games after consecutive ATS losses. Notre Dame, 8-0, at Northwestern, 5-3, Saturday, 7:15 p.m. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish are 9.5-point road betting favorites against the Northwestern Wildcats with a 53.5-point total. Notre Dame is 8-2 ATS in its last 10 games after consecutive ATS losses. The total has gone over in 7 of Notre Dame's last 9 road games against teams with winning records. Northwestern is 7-0 and 6-1 ATS in its last 7 games after winning the previous game in this matchup, but has not played Notre Dame since 2014. Oklahoma, 7-1, at Texas Tech, 5-3, Saturday, 8:00 p.m. The Oklahoma Sooners are 13.5-point road favorites against the Texas Tech Red Raiders with a 77-point total. The total has gone over in 6 of Oklahoma's last 7 games against Texas Tech, with an average combined score of 81.57. Texas Tech is 10-4 ATS in its last 14 games in November. Stanford, 5-3, at Washington, 6-3, Saturday, 9 p.m. The Washington Huskies are 10-point favorites against the Stanford Cardinal with a 46.5-point total. Stanford is 0-3 ATS in its last 3 road games against Washington. Washington is 8-3 ATS in its last 11 home games against teams with winning records. The total has gone under in 8 of Washington's last 9 games, with an average combined score of 41.78. For odds information, betting picks and a breakdown of this week's top sports betting news, check out the Odds Shark podcast with John Campbell and Andrew Avery. Subscribe on iTunes or Spotify or listen to it at oddsshark.libsyn.com. It was at least a partial victory for the Ole Miss football program Thursday afternoon. Nearly a year ago, Ole Miss announced that it would vigorously appeal the NCAA's decision to add 1 year on to the university's decision to self-impose a bowl ban for the 2017 season. Thursday, the NCAA announced that its Infractions Appeals Committee has upheld the ban that will keep the Rebels out of a bowl game following the 2018 season. The ISC also upheld the findings of the Committee on Infractions in regards to lack of institutional control as well, recruiting inducements given out by previous coaching staffs. However, the school stated in its response to the findings, the Committee on Infractions (COI) abused its discretion when prescribing Penalty 7.5(c) unofficial visit restrictions, and that it was based in significant part on one or more irrelevant or improper factors. That portion of the sanctions was vacated by the IAC. The original sanction had called for the number of unofficial visits by recruits to be severely curtailed through the 2020 season. Specifically, each recruit would have been limited to one unofficial visit per year. In most cases, unofficial visits are unlimited. As leaders at the University of Mississippi, we are sorry for what the Ole Miss family has endured throughout this long, arduous process, a letter signed by Chancellor Jeffrey Vitter and Athletic Director Ross Bjork said, in part. As the state's flagship university, our resolve has been tested many times in our history, and we have prevailed by staying true to our core values combined with the amazing support of the Ole Miss family. This challenge will not define us, and we will be stronger because of it. This ordeal is now over. Our attention must now be on the present and the future of our football program, and we are calling on the Ole Miss family to help finish this season strong. With the freedom to recruit and promote all that the University of Mississippi has to offer, Coach Matt Luke and his staff will keep building on the momentum we have in our program. As far as the NCAA is concerned, and with the appeals process over, the nearly 6-year-long case is closed. One of the foremost female names in the sport of college football could certainly use the help of strangers during what are some very trying and perilous times. According to a GoFundMe page titled, Help Katie Heal, Katie Hanita has been dealing with what was described as a rare, life-threatening reaction to a common, everyday antibiotic. She was described for an unspecified medical issue recently. The 37-year-old Hanita suffered multi-organ failure, with her kidneys failing, liver shutting down and her bone marrow quit functioning. Her blood wouldn't clot, and she had uncontrollable bleeding. Katie was admitted to the ICU in critical condition where she was given emergency dialysis and doctors debated the need for a possible liver transplant, the page stated. Fortunately, she has stabilized and her doctors and family are optimistic that she will eventually recover from this crisis. Anita, originally on the roster at Colorado before transferring under what ultimately became controversial circumstances, was successful on 2-point-after attempts for New Mexico in 2003 to become the first female to score in an FBS game. Months prior to that debut, Anita attempted an extra point in the Las Vegas Bowl. It was blocked, becoming the first female to play in an FBS game. Because of her pioneering efforts in the sport, Kita's jersey has been displayed in the College Football Hall of Fame. The GoFundMe page is seeking donations to help defray Kita's medical costs, which thus far have exceeded $155,000. Hanita, who claimed she was raped by a teammate while a member of the Buffaloes, has been on the front lines as an advocate, educator, and voice for survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, and child abuse. Majority of her work is through non-profits, and she dedicates a substantial amount of time providing pro bono counseling to survivors of trauma. It's believed Hanita will be out of work for the next 4 to 6 months because of her medical issues.